I think we could take this thing very, very far. I think we have talent at every position. I think we have talent on offense. We have depth on offense. We have talent on defense. We have depth on defense. And now it's just putting everything together. And it's a cliche, but you take it one game at a time. But, we are strong in a lot of areas. And, it hasn't been that way for a minute. I feel very, very confident where we're at, where we can go. And a lot of it is just, putting your best foot forward and understanding there's going to be highs and lows, but trying to remain balanced in the process and be your best version of yourself.
Be on a quest to own the West. Yippee-ki-yay, we make the ground shake. On game day, 12 men. Yeah, he's feeling it is vital. The Seahawks coming to take division titles. We are Coach Carroll, cause he's in. I'm in. We all in.
This is the Seahawkers Podcast, episode 412. I'm Brandon Schultz of the Military Seahawkers, and joining me, my good buddy to kick off another Seahawks season, Adam Emmert.
Dude, week one, it's here. We did it. We made it. I'm so fired up. I can't wait to talk about everything going into week one here against the freaking Rams.
It's no longer the offseason. It's no longer the preseason. It's regular season, and we're taking on the division rival Los Angeles Rams. It feels good.
It does. It does, especially with the idea being that we should be favorites in this game. I haven't even looked at the line yet, Brandon, but if we're not a 6-point favorite, I think Vegas is screwed up.
I think it's more than that. I seem to think I heard somebody saying that Seattle was a really strong favorite, and I didn't even really want to look, but now that you brought it up, I kind of want to look.
Okay.
I know that we've played around with this idea of betting on your team or betting against your team. What would the line have to be to where you would say maybe the Rams would at least make it closer than this point spread?
I would have to get from Vegas 300 points.
Good.
That's how much I hate the fucking Rams. No, I'm never betting on the Rams, especially against the Seahawks. Hell no. Yeah. Strong no. Forever no. I can't do it. Not enough money in the world. No, thank you.
Okay, that's good. The spread against this. Oh, it's closer than maybe I expected based on some of the headlines. Yeah, 5.5 points.
Oh, I was close. Okay. All right.
Not enough. That's not even close to 300.
That's right. So definitely not putting any money on McVay and the young Rams team. It's an interesting year, especially week one. I was very annoyed that we opened with the Rams because that gives the Rams the best shot to beat Seattle at home. They should have all their stars except for Cooper Kupp, which it sounds like he's going to be out with the hamstring.
Yeah.
And also, we don't know any of these dudes that are going to be playing, especially on defense. It's a bunch of guys you've never heard of. Matt Stafford, I basically feel for Matt Stafford. I don't know any of their names either.
That was one of the more fun storylines to come out this week, thanks to Matt Stafford's wife being on a podcast and talking about how Matt can't relate to all of his young teammates and had the equipment guy put together a binder for him so he could look at their pictures and know who they are, know their names. And talking about how they walk around calling him sir. And
it's always when you get sirred for the first time, for real, if somebody just says sir, because you can tell that's what they do in all those situations. But when you get sirred for the first time because they think you're old, it feels a certain kind of way. It does.
Yeah, because shoot, I'll have, a 21-year-old kid hold the door for me or something, and I'll say, thank you, sir.
Right.
Just because, being overly polite. But yeah, when you get the sir thing, yeah, that's different.
Well, I guess you've earned it when you've played so much football that your arm barely works now. So that's going to be fun to see.
His arm works enough that they figured they only needed Stetson Bennett as his backup on the roster.
Oh, when you got a guy named Stetson Bennett on the roster, you're set. Don't worry about it. I mean, he definitely sounds like a clone. I don't know. He played the one good game, and then I think he had two kind of stinkers in the preseason. And he's their number 2, which... that's fine when you're tanking for Caleb anyways. So we'll see what happens. But we've heard so much about Matt Stafford's arm throughout the offseason. And it just depends on who you believe, whether it's good and we're going to be, getting the best of Matt Stafford, or that it's basically a noodle arm and he can't throw with any sort of frequency in practice because his elbow blows up and all that stuff. Who knows, right? What version of Matt Stafford do we get? I think that's one of the biggest question marks that we have in this game.
There's so many questions that I have for the game, and I think we'll try and get through all of them. One of the questions we had coming into this show is how different would the Seahawks 53-man roster be from when we saw the initial cut down day? And it turns out the answer is not a whole heck of a lot. We haven't seen any of those injury moves. I think that we've gotten some injury updates from Pete Carroll saying that likely not to see Jamal Adams in this game, likely not to see Witherspoon, JSN maybe still up in the air, but none of the guys ruled out, obviously, because it's, injury reports don't have to be in until later this week. But the only corresponding moves we saw after the 53 was they signed linebacker Drake Thomas after he was cut by the Las Vegas Raiders. John Radigan was released. He was signed back to the practice squad. Kyle Kelly cut by the Ravens, a cornerback out of Stanford. And Artie Burns was the one who was then released and moved to the practice squad. But none of the guys that the Seahawks let go, nobody picked them up. And so they were able to move whoever they wanted to the practice squad, including Levi Bell.
Yeah, Levi Bell made it. Ehlers made it. Pretty much Saradrick made it. That made me very happy. And then let's not forget Patrick O'Connell, the Cali kid. Yeah, he made it.
Although watching some of the highlights of Drake Thomas, I could see why they brought him in. He looks better than any of our linebackers that we saw in the preseason.
Yeah, a guy that looks like he can play a little bit. I know EJ, when you talked to him, he was super fired up about Thomas, right? Drake Thomas, is that his name?
Yeah.
Undrafted guy. Again, we're not college football watchers. For me to sit here and I'm excited about some undrafted guy I've never seen play, I can't do that for you. But a lot of people seem fired up about the move. We'll see. But I don't know that it's going to make much of a difference because it sounds like we might be seeing some Jordan Brooks week 1.
Jordan Brooks and Bobby Wagner week 1. Who would have thought?
I definitely would have thought Bobby. I mean, I believe in him being healthy and ready to go each and every game. That's his track record. That's how he is. But
well, I was thinking, not this time, but back in January, who would have thought that would be our 2 starting linebackers week 1?
That's a good point. Because we hadn't brought Bobby back yet. And
Jordan obviously injured late in the season to where we thought there wouldn't be a chance, but he's got the Wolverine blood.
Absolutely. And I do think that that's a big deal going into this week 1 matchup against the Ram. Having somebody like Jordan Brooks who can get sideline to sideline and as a tackling machine is going to help a lot with the wide zone Rams running scheme, because we all know that's where it starts and stops with them.
The Rams will also know Bobby Wagner's weaknesses, obviously, after having him on the team firsthand. Apparently he was with that team last year. I don't know. But I've been told that they know Bobby very well from last season.
Sounds like a glitch in the matrix that I'm not aware of. But I mean, the idea that they know more about Bobby Wagner's strengths and weaknesses after last year is kind of laughable to me. I mean, everybody knows Bobby's strengths and weaknesses because he's been in the league for freaking 45 years.
Yeah. Just reverse the jersey number. Is that why he wore 45 last year? Number of years in the league
last year. What are you talking about?
I don't know. I have this vague recollection. I don't know if it was a Madden glitch or something. Maybe that's part of it.
Sounds like a bad dream.
That's what it sounds like. Dream.
Yeah, I'm glad we woke up.
Bobby Wagner. Yeah, I want to see him have a huge game against these Rams, not for any particular reason, but just because that's what I want to see.
I think that could line up very well with what I think is probably the biggest key to this game, and that's stopping the outside run plays and Bobby flowing to the ball. If Draymond and Jaron and company can keep him clean with Jordan Brooks or Devin Bush out there, and they're able to contain that outside zone run game, all of a sudden this Rams offense is going to be in Strugglesville. So if Bobby has a huge game, making big time tackles, especially out on the edge, I mean, chalk it up as a win.
Is there a question that you have about the Seahawks team that can be definitively answered just in this one game against the Rams?
Boy, that's an interesting question. Because overall, what my response would be is that no, I need to see 3, 4, 5 weeks before you can really start to say anything with any sort of definition. But I think one of the things would be if JSN does happen to play and he goes out there and has like 8 catches for 85 yards and, converts 4 third downs. That might just right out of the box be like, yep, okay, everybody was right. I was dead wrong. Like, we needed this guy. And he's awesome. So hooray for us. Yeah.
That would be a wild week 1 for a rookie receiver. It's just not something that we tend to see.
Massive. Yeah.
Think about DK's first game as a Seahawk. I mean, did he just blow it out of the water his first game? I don't have a strong memory of it.
He had good games early. I can tell you that much. But yeah, I don't know. Is there what would be solidified for you after a week 1 performance, a good or bad?
I think the one thing that could be addressed in week 1, even though the strength of the Rams probably isn't going to be their wide receiving core, if Cooper Kupp's going to be out in the game, would just be, would the secondary be solidified enough just based on the personnel that we know are out there? Like, can Quandre Diggs and Julian Love, Reek Woolen, and we don't know if it's going to be Trey Brown or Mike Jackson who's starting opposite of Reek. Is that 4 going to be, like, how do they look coming straight out of the gate? And if they can lock down this group of receivers, which Van Jefferson has given the Seahawks tough times in the past, Skronik is, I guess, the guy who you would put in there if Kupp's not playing. And they also have Tutu Atwell, who didn't even play in the preseason, it looked like, for whatever reason.
He's too good. He didn't need the practice.
And then Puka Nacua, who's another guy they're excited about. And could that end up being a guy that picks apart if the Seahawks don't have a really strong option at nickel? Can they move Artie Burns back to the practice squad, or back from the practice squad to the starting lineup? Or are we going to see Caillou immediately out of the gate at corner, Caillou Kelly? That would surprise me.
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways that they could go. You could see Kobe out there playing the other safety spot, and then you bring Julian Love up in the nickel, or vice versa. I would think that that's probably more likely than them going to the well of some guy that just signed to the squad, or somebody like Artie Burns, who primarily plays outside. I don't know that you'd see that, but let's not totally underestimate the wide receivers going into this game. Van Jefferson's good.
Yeah.
Skronik's fine. He's a guy. And this Poku guy is supposed to Poku, whatever his name is, Pokemon. What I don't know. Yeah. He's supposed to be awesome. There's a lot of dudes that were fired up about him in this draft. So I think if Stafford is playing well and on the top of his game, it doesn't matter much if it's Van Jefferson or Kupp as the number 1. He can slice and dice you if he has time. And that's a big if right there, because he's got Chenna coming after him, and Derek Hall, and Boye Mafe, and Draymond Jones. And we get to see that pass rush unleashed for the first time. And that's very exciting to me.
And I don't know how I'll feel about the pass rush if they come in and they really put the pressure on Matt Stafford in this game. I wouldn't be willing to say that particular question is answered in terms of our side of the ball, but it would answer the question for me is, how good is that Rams offensive line? Can they hold up for Stafford for a whole year? Because one of the things that I've seen now, and part of it is seeing Logan Bruss, who was the 3rd round pick last year, who they drafted on the offensive line with one of their very few picks. He was waived. Nobody wanted him. He comes back to the practice squad. I started thinking, have the Rams made any good moves at offensive line since Shane Waldron and Andy Dickerson left?
Ooh, yeah. I don't know. I would have to go back through the transactions, but you may be right. Because, yeah, Dickerson has seemed to be a magical coach with finding players, getting them to play up to par, and they have struggled on the offensive line since then. And it's interesting you bring them up as well. I mean, is it Noteboom at right tackle or left tackle? They both are tackles. Halverstein and Noteboom are both questionable going into this game. So at the very least, nicked up. This could be a field day for Seahawks pass rushers. Yeah,
Havenstein on the right side, Joe Noteboom on the left side, who played left guard, and now they have, well, he played left tackle last year, but they brought in Steve Avila, their second round pick, and he was drafted early on in the second round. Judging by what PFF went off of, very good pass blocking in terms of his reps, not great run blocking. And it's the run blocking that if the Rams are going to have a shot to beat the Seahawks, they're going to have to run the ball hard, and they're going to have to run the ball inside, I think. And it is one of the question marks that we have about our team is how they're going to hold up on the interior. But with Brian Allen, the one solid dude that they have on the interior for the Rams offensive line, Avila, a rookie, I think they're going to have a hard time because Cam Akers is a guy who runs better in space than he does in confined places.
That was so kind. That was so kind of you.
Well, okay. Cam Akers sucks.
Cam Akers is only good if there's nobody around him. Gotcha. Yeah, no, that's exactly what I've been saying since the day he got drafted. It
was the way he ran in college even.
Yep.
And they have Kyron Williams is his backup, who he didn't show off enough in the preseason that I would think that he's challenging Cam for any starting reps.
Not unless Cam gets back in the doghouse with McVay, like he did. Was that last year or the year before? But you're 100% right. The offense for the Rams, it's all going to start and stop in the run game for them. That's if you're trying to make sure that Stafford survives the season, if you're trying to protect an offensive line that is young in the interior and injured on the outside, all those things, you want to run the snot out of the ball. And if the Seahawks can limit drives to, 3 to 6 play drives rather than, 10, 12 play drives and actually get off the field, keep time of possession fairly close. And you do that by not allowing them to convert in the run game on third down with frequency, then this should be a blowout. If they struggle in those areas, then it's going to be closer than any of us like.
And with this being early on in the week, there are some transactions that maybe we can expect to see throughout the week. As we're recording, we find out that Derek Young was moved to injured reserve, so he's going to miss the first 4 games. They move up Ben Brown. So that's going to be the one offensive move that has changed from our 53-man roster. There you go.
Yeah, I'm so stoked that the season's here and we can start talking about games. I'm so sick of talking about transactions and trades and not trades and just cap hits. I'm over it, man. It's time for catfish and ball, dude. Here we go.
It's a move like this that then makes you wonder, okay, if they're moving Derek Young to the injured reserve and not bringing up a wide receiver to replace them, they're bringing up an offensive lineman. Does that mean that JSN could be ready to rock in week 1?
It could mean that. It could also mean that the team feels highly confident with Bobo as the wide receiver 3. And they're ready to roll with him for a couple of weeks until JSN is completely healthy. Because I did want to ask you. So we're hearing that JSN has been a full go in practice the last couple of days, wearing a big old cast. How do you feel about him going out there and competing week 1 live bullets about 2 to 3 weeks sooner than what doctors say you usually should do? How do you feel about that? Do you want to see him out there? Do you want to see him give it a go? Or would you rather them hold him back a little while?
I don't know the extent of the injury enough to know whether it's something that you would necessarily chance. Like how for a wrist injury, if it's some tiny bone within the wrist, is it that critical? I don't know. What kind of surgery did they do to fuse it back together? Did they just, use some Elmer's glue and glue it in place and it's good? Or
yeah. Then they charged him, $500,000. Of course, that's what they did. Yeah. No, I just wonder. For me personally, the idea that you go out there and you play in a cast, like if you still need a cast to go out there and play, no, thank you. You can stay on the sidelines, like heal up.
As a receiver who's, that's connected to one of the most important body parts you have as a wide receiver. There's no catching it with your abs like DK.
Yeah, we're in week 1. We're not towards the end. We're not in must-win games, although I do feel like this is a very important game for the Seahawks to win right out of the gate. Let's take it easy. Let's make sure he gets right. This is a young guy that you invested high draft capital in. Let's be sure that he's right and ready to roll. That's what I'd rather see. Because I'm totally fine with more Bobo, please. Yeah.
And especially if you're going to be lining up in the slot and expecting blocking in the running game. It's probably not something you want to do with an injured wrist, but
I mean, unless the x-rays say otherwise and the way he feels says otherwise and all that, but we don't get to know.
yeah, that's the point I was just trying to make before. And then you're trying to talk me out of it. And now you're trying to talk me back into it.
I just saying, these are the way, or I felt like if you had to wear a cast, no, thank you. But I could see it both ways. Just want to present the full argument.
Yeah. Well, the full argument is we don't have all the information enough to know whether or not it would be detrimental to his future health. Because that would be the other part of it is if it's going to cause problems long term, then yeah, you want to wait until you're fully healthy.
That would make the most sense for sure. And I don't know if you knew this, Brandon, but we've got two guys named DK and Tyler on the outside that is going to be feasting against a very weak Rams secondary.
I can let any Seahawks fan know just how weak the Rams secondary is by naming their starting left cornerback. And you'll know when I say this name that you're like, oh, that's who they're rolling out there as their starter week 1.
Yeah. Yeah. I heard that this name might be a possibility. Like a drum roll, Brandon. Brrr, who you got?
Akella Witherspoon, starting cornerback for the Los Angeles Rams. Oh, and they're talking him up. He's been having a great preseason.
Oh, he's had a great camp. He's had a great preseason. Every other stop that he's been at throughout his career, I don't know, the 4 or 5 other teams, like they just haven't been able to unlock him fully. But the genius Sean McVay, he has been being the offensive coach and obviously then an expert on DBs. They've changed Akella Witherspoon into the next Deion Sanders. It's amazing.
And we really like this Trey Tomlinson kid too, who was their 6th round pick. So, if you're really liking the guy who is backing up the guy who has not been great his entire NFL career, then you might have some depth issues at that position too.
Who?
What?
Who was that? Who?
Trey Tomlinson?
Yeah. Who? Who else? Who else you got? Throw out some other names.
Oh, Darion Kendrick, who's their starting right corner, I believe.
Who?
You might recognize him as the other 6th round pick that they had from the previous year's draft.
Sure. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because the Seahawks, they're really good at finding corner in the 5th round. The Rams also great at selecting cornerbacks in the 6th round.
Oh, absolutely. That's what their track record shows. So yeah,
because they've done it. Defensive backs in particular. I mean, Jordan Fuller, starting safety. There's a name that's actually good, but he was drafted in the 6th round. Quentin Lake is backup, also he's drafted decent in the 6th round.
Okay.
There you go.
Yeah. Les Snead, 6th round wizard.
Not wizard. I'm just saying really adept at being able to select members of the secondary with their 6th round picks. Like when it's the 6th round,
6th round picks for guys who are good. Like, I don't know.
I'm not
Jalen
saying
Ramsey.
these guys are good. I'm just saying he's good at selecting players in that round of the draft at that position because he's done it.
He's good at actually physically selecting them, not so much the selection themselves.
Just like you, when you get up around the green, you're really good at taking the wedge out of your bag to use it for chip shots.
Absolutely. I'm great at that part of chipping. It's the rest of it where the struggle.
You're great at selecting the right club when you get around the green. I'm not saying you have a good short game.
Yeah, the execution may be lacking. That is for sure. Yeah.
Glad we wore that one out.
That's what we do.
All right. So in the secondary, Russ Yeast is also their starting free safety, 7th rounder. So nearly got him in the 6th.
Nearly. Yeah. Just a draft steal in the 7th. So it does paint the picture, though, of how decimated they are on the back end after they sell their souls to the devil for a Super Bowl ring. And if Geno Smith doesn't come out and have a day, that means that Aaron Donald has come out and decided to wreck all of our hopes and dreams on the interior of our offensive line. But I don't expect that to happen.
I expect it to happen a little bit.
Yes, a little bit. I'm talking about like show up and just take Evan Brown, bench press him 4 times, throw him into Geno Smith on every play. And by the time Geno hits his back foot on a 3-step drop,
if that happens all day long, yes, we're in trouble.
We're having a bad day. Yeah.
Aaron Donald could start looking old anytime now.
Yes, please. But I'm not counting on it. and he's still going to have an effect. That's one of the reasons why, as Seahawks fans, we all feel a little cocky going into this game. Plus we're all, high on the offseason Kool-Aid and all of those things, but there's still a few dudes there. And, one of them's a generational guy in Aaron Donald. And we're going to have to see if Phil Haynes and Evan Brown and Damian Lewis can hold their own against him. And, White out there on the edge. Yeah.
And Byron Young, who looks like he might be starting on that opposite edge spot. So
another who?
Well, he was their 3rd round pick this year. And they didn't do so well at that spot last year, but that was on the offensive side of the ball. But they seemed to like him. When McVay was asked about the young guys that he liked the most, it was Trey Tomlinson, who I mentioned, the 6th round corner. It was Byron Young, and it was Puka Nacua. Oh, no. Okay. No, I don't think it was Tomlinson. I think it was Avila, Young, and Puka. He might not have mentioned Trey. I think that was the other question where he was asked when he was talking about his cornerbacks.
Oh, my gosh. Sounds like you listened to Sean McVay talk in that voice for like a while.
Oh, my gosh. It was so... I do it for the show, but
I know you do.
Ears are still recovering. Because you know how I hate the sound of Sean McVay's voice.
Yes. It's it grates on you more than about anything that I know.
It's so bad.
You're a very patient man, and that is an area in which patience is thin for you.
So I did that. I did it for the show, and I that's what you get out of it. You get to hear me mention those 3 names of guys that Sean McVay is actually high on.
Well, thank you for your yeoman's effort, and on behalf of the entire flock, again, just wanted to let you know that you're a hero and your service is appreciated. Thank you for your service.
Okay, so we've given credit to the Rams for their interior defensive line. Their linebackers and edges could be questionable. Their secondary definitely questionable. Their interior of the offensive line, very questionable. Their tackles on the offensive line
are literally questionable.
Literally questionable in terms of injury.
Yeah.
Van Jefferson, good. Cam Akers, not good. Stafford can be good. And Tyler Higbee, so.
Yeah. There's one of the guys when I started going through the roster and everything, I'm like, gosh, dang it. Like, if I see another tight end rip us up for a zillion yards in exposed Bobby in coverage, because you talk about the idea of the Rams knowing his weaknesses more now and all of that, they know that, coverage is not his strength at this point in his career. And I hope all that talk we heard in the offseason from Pete Carroll and company about, we're going to use him a little different, and we've learned some things and blah, blah, blah from his time last year. Let's hope that that's the case. And we don't see a big Tyler Higbee game. That would hurt my feelings.
I think Bobby could match up against Higbee. It's Bobby against a guy like Nacua or Atwell that I would have the bigger concern against.
Yeah, that better be a love matchup or, God help us, Kobe Bryant nickel.
The one matchup, though, that I don't know if a lot of folks are going to be talking about is the special teams matchup. And I mentioned it because, well, for one, the Rams don't currently have an active kicker on their roster. He's on the practice squad, which I expect that they'll move. Like Sean McVay, as much of a hard time as I give him for having a terrible sounding voice, I think he's smart enough to know that they'll want to have a kicker on the active roster when they go up against the Seahawks. So they'll make that corresponding move to get Maher on the roster for the week against the Seahawks. But rookie punter, rookie long snapper, and rookie punt returner in Nacua.
So are you Babe Ruth in this? Are you calling your shot right here? Is this game going to feature one big special teams blunder by the Rams?
How can it not? If you're having young guys making their first appearance at Lumen Field with the crowd going nuts, one of those 3 guys has to screw up one time.
I agree. I think that's a great call by you. And so there you have it. Like, lock it up. One special teams blunder by the Rams
at least
in this football game. Yeah.
And then you compare that with the special teams players for the Seahawks, who you've got all pro talent. You've got Pro Bowl talent in Nick Bellore. and a long snapper that we all know his name.
On paper, it's a lot better. There's no doubt about it. So we'll see how that goes. Now, Brandon, I wanted to ask you, how important is it that the Seahawks win this game? It's week 1, but it's a divisional rival in your house. The timing is a big FU from the NFL. I still believe that. How do you view it?
I will be devastated if they don't get the win, especially after as much junk as we've just finished talking about them. And I feel like I held back a little bit. So
you did. Yeah.
Just because it is a divisional game, you don't want to lose in division at home to start the season. And especially if they lose in the fashion that I feel like it would take for them to lose. Well, for one, if they lose because of the passing game, that doesn't look good with the guys that we have in the secondary. If we lose because of the running game, it's because Cam Akers tore you up and your defensive interior is as weak as maybe we thought it could be going into the season. That would be bad. And then if you're not able to put up points against this secondary, that would be bad.
That would be bad. And it does make me worry because I can remember struggles against Wolford-led, Rams teams, Baker Mayfield-led Rams teams. Gosh, who did we play that they had a broken thumb and still was that Goff? Was that Goff's last game as a Ram against us?
Yeah, Wofford was supposed to play in that game, and we got Goff instead. And we thought, oh, well, this will be fun because he's busted up.
Yeah, and it wasn't fun. It wasn't fun.
No. Somehow we always find a way to end up in close games against the Rams.
Yep. And man, when I think about how important this game is, I actually think it's about a 6 or a 7 on the importance scale. Like, it's about as important as it could be for a early season game. Having it be a division game, being it is your home game against this divisional opponent, a game that you should win, but a game that the NFL gave the Rams every advantage that they could by putting it week 1.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to overtake the Niners this year, you got to have this one. Like, these are the ones that you stack to become a 12-13 win team and win the division over the San Francisco freaking Niners. I was going to come up with some other derogatory name, but whatever.
You self-censored yourself.
I did.
We'll save that for the actual matchups against the Niners later on this season.
Catfish them.
And Akers too. The last time we saw this guy, he ran for 104 yards on 21 carries. It was week 17 last year. Was the last game that we played of the regular season was against the Rams, and Cam Akers had a day.
There's nothing more annoying to me as a football fan to watch a mediocre run offense and a mediocre running back run it right down your throat. That is some of the most infuriating football that I can personally watch. It makes me a crazy person.
And that's why I feel like I have to see a contrast against that week 17 game with all the moves that they made in the offseason to get better by bringing back Bobby on the defensive line, bringing back Jaron Reed, the big signing in the offseason too. That has to show up and go back to the 2020 games when we were seeing Cam Akers rush for like 10 times and 38 yards. That was the only time that he played against Seattle was in 2020. So, yeah.
Very much be dismayed to see the D-line struggle in that way. And you would think, especially out on the edge, when you think of Nwosu's prowess being out there on the left side, and then Mafe and Hall on the right side. I mean, Mafe's improvement really jumped out. We'll see if that translates into week 1, right? That's a very interesting thing to watch.
Right. That was my other question that I had was, can Mafe make that transition from outstanding preseason play to regular season play?
We've seen guys over the years that do flash in the preseason and it doesn't translate, but I'm telling you, I'm buying this. I'm all in. Yeah. I really do believe it. I think we're going to see it here in week 1. I'm predicting a Mafe sack in this game.
Ooh, I like it.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? We got the Mafe question out there. Any other burning questions that you are looking to have answered against the Rams?
I just want to know how good I'm going to feel after the game, after we spank the Rams. Like, how good is that going to feel, Brandon?
How good will it feel?
Yeah, I think it's going to feel about an 8 good.
I don't know.
That's way more. That's an outsized feeling. I think it might be on par with beating. No, not quite. I was going to say beating the Broncos last year in week 1.
Based on our history with the Rams, a win against the Rams and feeling a 3 good, I will accept.
A 3?
I'll accept it because it's a win.
I just think I don't care if they look good or look bad. Like, I'm going to feel it about like at least a 6. A 6.
No matter what the final score is, even if it's a win, you'll still feel,
as long as it's a win.
No, you'll feel no lower than a 6.
That's right. Because we get to beat Hair Gel Boy and his rebuild team that they need to pay for what they did a couple of years ago. And it should start with an 0-1 start and finish with a 1-16 finish this year. That's what I'm looking for out of the Rams, because catfish the Rams, Brandon, catfish them forever.
I don't want to see a 1-16 finish from them. I want to see them finish 6-11.
Okay.
I want them to try and tank, but be so bad at it that another team comes along and tanks enough to where they don't get a top quarterback next year.
I didn't know we were talking about the Arizona Cardinals today.
We might do that after the break.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what it is, Adam. I still can't get used to the idea of having odd-numbered games and trying to work out the record numbers in my head. I feel like I've gotten the Las Vegas Raiders, Los Angeles Chargers. I'm good on that.
Yep. It only took me 3-4 years to get there on those ones. Maybe after another 2-3 years, I'll have this down too. But every time I start talking about records, I automatically in my brain make it a 16 game situation, and the math, adds up to that. So I don't know.
They need to go back to 16 games just for that.
Yeah,
it's too
exactly.
screwy.
I mean, don't change the math. Come on now.
Yeah. What does a 1,000-yard season even mean anymore?
It still means you're awesome, I think.
It was really awesome back when it was a 14-game season. Kids, ask your parents about when the NFL played 14 games in a season.
That's exactly right. Yeah. And your life was so much bleaker because you had that much less football in your life. It was a sad time in this country.
You had 6 preseason games, though. So,
oh, yeah, that more than made up for it. You betcha.
Could you imagine there still being 6 preseason games?
I would want to poke out my own eyeballs. Yeah.
Like even with 3, I feel like they found a pretty good number.
Yep. Feels right for now anyways. We'll see if things change over the years, but yeah, it gives the coaches enough of a look at guys to really evaluate things, but also doesn't drag out the process forever. And yeah, here we go.
So Arizona Cardinals, are you buying into this idea that they're tanking?
Idea. That's an interesting way to frame that. I mean, did you say fact or idea? That's what I got confused there.
Sometimes there's media narratives that you hear and you go, maybe there's something to that. Sometimes you hear it and you're like, that's kind of a reach. With the Cardinals, it maybe feels obvious.
It does feel obvious. And I don't blame them for 1 second. Like, if people want to bag on them for it, I guess you can. But so you're Gannon, you're a fresh coach, right? And you get basically a free pass of a season coming in with the star quarterback injured, all the roster churn. Why not burn that free season to get the highest draft capital that you possibly can moving forward? And just getting rid of Colt McCoy and going with Clayton Tune or whoever it is that they're going, because they're not going to tell us for the competitive advantage over, from dog catfish to horse catfish, like a quarterback. So yeah, it's as obvious as the day is long.
There's one reason why you don't tank, and that's because you have prideful veteran players on your team that, as a head coach, you want them buying into the fact that you want to win.
I think in that case, you got to just sit them down and let them know what the long-term plans are and ask if they want to be traded or released. and go that route. You just have to turn it all over. I don't know how you can look at a veteran with a straight face with what the Cards are doing to this point and be like, yeah, no, we're in it to win it this year. You bet. We're going to go as far as we can.
That's why we brought in Josh Dobbs, because he's a winner.
Yeah, he absolutely.
And traded away D-Hop. And how do they not trade away Budda Baker?
I don't know. Maybe he likes the dry heat in the desert. That's the only thing I can figure.
Maybe. When your top offseason acquisition is LJ Collier, I think that tells you all you need to know.
Well, he's just in such a better position now. It really just wasn't a fit in Seattle. It really wasn't much about his play. So
how about Nick Bosa holding out? He wants to be the highest paid non-quarterback ever.
When was the last Aaron Donald contract? Was that 2 years ago, 3 years ago?
It's been a little bit. Is he still the highest paid guy, or did Chris Jones?
If he's not, he ought to have been.
Is Chris Jones trying to take that spot too? Because he's also holding out.
True. Yeah. Why wouldn't you pay a guy like that sort of money? You're going to be rolling with the quarterback that costs you literally a bag of footballs for the next 3 years.
And with who the 49ers have on their defensive line, it's not like they have a barrage of pass rushing talent. I think the disparity between Bosa and the next guy is like a crazy number of quarterback pressures, like near 100. And the next guy's got like 20.
Yeah. Him and Hargrave, they're the straws that stir the drink for that defensive line this year. And then I think a lot of other guys have gotten paid because of playing with Bosa and playing with Hargrave when he was with the Eagles. So good for them. Keep getting them checks. But those are your two dudes. Like, you just pay Bosa. He's one of those generational type players as a pass rusher. I hate saying it. I hate giving the man his flowers because he wears some ugly ass colors, man. But he does look good when he's doing it. There's no doubt about it.
If it's so obvious, though, to you and me, then how much of an issue do you think that it is for other players in the locker room for the 49ers? Why don't you just bring this guy in so we can get started on the season? Why are you haggling over a few bucks when it comes down to it? If we're supposed to be in our championship window with Brock Purdy back and healthy and with what we showed defensively last season, why don't you get this done, front office, and so we can have our guy on the field?
There's no way he doesn't play week 1.
No way.
All right, I'll rephrase. There's no way that he's not on the field by week 3. Beginning of the game, week 3.
Well, the 49ers would have to cave. Well, one of them would have to cave at that point, right?
Well, that's how negotiations work. It's not like they're going to stand there forever and chuck rocks at each other from across the river. Like, eventually somebody's going to compromise, or both are a little bit. It's going to happen. It's just a matter of when. So I guess if you're the other players in the locker room, as long as you don't feel like your chances are severely diminished in your first couple games on the field, if he's not there, then you're probably fine with it. But I mean, if you're John Lynch, just stop screwing around. What are you doing?
I feel like he's been screwing around. This should be done by now.
You would think. But I guess if Bosa's agent is making a big stink out of things, maybe it's been tough. And we're not privy to all the negotiations, but come on, man. Like, there's just certain dudes in the league that you just don't question. You're just like, yeah, what's the amount? Okay. Yeah, no, for sure. You're one of those guys. No worries.
For one, I think it would be, if I'm advising John Lynch, it's like, you have to hold strong.
Who's advising him that you shouldn't pay then?
Me.
Okay. Well, your advisement is broken.
No, he should listen to me, and Bosa should sit out as long as it takes.
Like maybe a season?
Maybe. Or
maybe they should just trade him for like a 6-round pick and be done with the headache to say, I don't know, an in-division club.
Maybe a third. That seems more fair since you got a 4th for a quarterback.
Oh, no. I mean, you're just so sick of it. Maybe even make it just a 7th. Like,
in-division rival like us.
Yeah. Team wearing blue.
Good. I like that idea even better.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody could use a pass rusher like Bosa.
Yeah, there's not one team that's like, no, we're
good at
sorry,
that spot.
We're good.
We're good.
We're not better with Nick Bosa.
All right. Well, that is a look at our division rivals. They take on the Steelers in week 1. Then they're taking on the Rams in week 2. So hopefully they get off to an 0-2 start the season. And then
I like it.
They go 0-3 the third week against the Giants.
They're due for one of their roller coaster seasons, man. That's how this team has been.
Well, it is time that we thank our members of the flock. They went to getintheflock.com. They're supporting the show. Maybe they went to seahawkerspodcast.com/support and supporting via PayPal or Venmo at Hawkra. There's all kinds of ways you can support the show, including being an executive producer. And our executive producers are DCH and Rebecca Christensen.
Heck yeah. Scholars and gentle people.
JC Schilling. Add JC to the list. We'll give him an executive producer credit this week, donating $300 via Venmo at Hawkra.
Holy smokes.
Yeah.
Man. Yeah. JC's been as loyal as it gets, man. And appreciate you. No doubt about it. That's a chunk, man.
JC says, gents, this email is incredibly overdue, and I will start off with an apology for that. I started listening to the podcast in the late 200s and freeloaded for a few months until you hit 300. It was just the right time for me to join the flock, cleanse my Hawkra, and give a little value for value. It was also my first time writing to you guys and saying thank you for the community you've built and the great insight and entertainment you provide. We moved to Germany last year with the Air Force, and the podcast, the Discord chat, and the Ring of Honor on Facebook has been a lifeline back to the PNW that has helped me to stay in the loop. I've enjoyed being in the Discord while watching the games on ESPN Gamecast, and I am open to any tips from Hawk Van Dyke or Hong Kong London Hawk on how they watch the game live on this side of the pond. All this said, I was excited for podcast number 400 and another congratulations email, but I've been busy with work and travel. I know, excuses, and I found myself finally sending a huge thank you again about 10 podcasts too late. Well, better late than never. I am with Adam on my excitement for the season. I haven't been this excited for the year to start since the post-Super Bowl win, and I will be rocking the throwback 12 jersey as soon as it finds its way over here. It would be wrong for me to not include Clinton, Phil, and Wilson for their help in expanding the options we have for listening and bringing our group even more energy and things to talk about. Another huge thank you for those guys. I've been working hard at growing the next generation of 12s upright, and my 6 and 8-year-olds have been listening to the podcast for the last couple of years as well. They love Adam's catfish moments, and I'm starting to get asked what word he used that is getting covered up.
Christmas.
They sure grow up quick.
It's Christmas every time.
Every time. So I have a small request. We sent you an audio clip on Facebook Messenger with the kids chanting "Go Hawks." And yes, I got that. I have it loaded up. We're going to thank our members of the flock at 12 and above. And so JC, if I don't get it in here, because I know you sent it to me, back in November. If I don't get it into this show, you have my permission to yell at me.
Yeah.
Because you're an executive producer of the show. You can throw your weight around now. You say, Brandon, this is your executive producer from episode 412, and I have some notes for you here. My audio clip did not make it in. Make it happen next time.
It's a lot of pressure you just put on yourself, buddy. I hope you come through.
Well, the pressure is not on me. It's the pressure is on JC to hold me accountable if I forget.
Right. Okay.
Just like I'll be finally getting around to randomizing our list of Pick'em winners to do prize selections from last year's Pick'em League.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
We'll get there, though. JC goes on to say, thanks again for all you guys do. I can't wait for this year, and I'm looking forward to a 2024-25 already when we will be back in the Pacific Northwest, and I can meet up with everybody for games once again. Go Hawks from JC.
All right. Yeah. Looking forward to seeing JC when you do get back, bud. And just can't thank you enough. And, if the kiddos are listening to this one too, I only say the nicest things when I'm on the podcast. And sometimes they're just so nice that's when Brandon has to put catfish over top of it.
Because you did say a few nice things about the Rams in the first half of the show. I'm probably just going to have to cover it up.
I think the Niners too. Yeah, I said something nice about
it's weird
them.
Whenever it's division rivals.
Yeah, it's just it's an odd tick that I have.
BB from getintheflock.com sent us a message, said, sorry if this is a dumb question. I'm watching Hard Knocks, and all the receivers and all the defensive backs have a towel tucked into their jersey pants in the back. What's going on with this? The quarterback has to deal with the ball every down. Please pontificate on this issue.
A lot of hard telling, not knowing there. I guess there's some guys that like it for their hands.
That's what I would think.
Yeah.
Especially in the preseason when it's hot.
I could see that.
Sweaty
A lot of them
hands.
wear gloves, though. So
Well, not everybody.
why would you need the towel?
Why would you? I feel like you'd want to practice without the gloves. And then,
Wouldn't you want to practice with what you're going to use?
I don't know. Why would you need a towel to wipe off your gloves?
Maybe it's for, a little bit of swamp ass. Like, you just kind of tuck it back there and yeah.
Maybe that's what BB's fishing for.
Yeah. I don't know.
We don't have everybody's official saw score from Hard Knocks.
No, we don't. But I wish we did. I sure do.
Jay Scott, AZ12 in the Discord. A couple thoughts came to mind while listening to episode 411. What if a team offered a good trade for Drew Lock? What offer would you accept? Has Holton Ahlers showed enough to be a good back?
I got killed by one of the commenters on another video I had done with my. He can be a competent backup, but it's still going to take him a little bit of time.
Why
Not this
did you
year,
get
no.
killed? Why?
Oh, just because I said that he's a borderline NFL QB at best, and I think that's kind of his ceiling. There's people that are bigger believers in him and watched him a lot in college and are emotionally invested in the guy. Just what I've seen from him, I mean, I'm 1,000% more comfortable Drew Lock as the backup quarterback. With that said, reasonable value. If somebody offered us a third for Drew right now, you'd take that in a heartbeat, I think.
I don't know if I'd take a third for this year, just because I don't want the season to be over if Geno were to go down with a 4 to 5 game injury. And I think that Drew could be a guy who could fill in long enough for that. And I don't know if you could find another guy who could come in that would be worth not having that safety net.
Based off of his preseason play, is there a backup quarterback in the league right now that you would prefer to have over top of Drew Lock?
If you could get a second or third, I don't know, maybe you could talk about getting, since the Patriots put Zappy on the practice squad or something like that, you could pull Zappy off their practice squad, maybe.
Yeah.
Or even Malik Cunningham. He showed enough in the preseason that you kind of, like, that's a dude who can run around more than I saw from Ahlers.
Yeah. The Ahlers stuff, I mean, he's an average athlete and,
He's fun.
He got away with himself. He's fun though, man. I love his moxie and his guts. Like, no doubt about that. But
I
that's
actually
a college
spent
quarterback.
enough time thinking about it with the new rule, wondering if it would make it worth using the new quarterback rule to have him on the roster. The only thing is that if he's your quarterback and you bring him into the game at any time in the first 3 quarters, then you can't use your other 2 quarterbacks. And so I'm assuming that also means using him as a gadget player.
Oh, okay.
I
Can't Taysom Hill him.
I'm guessing that, with the way this rule is structured, that he would be left to only be a 4th quarter type player. And it might be fun to run some of those gadget plays in the 4th quarter late in the game. But I don't know if it's still enough to make it worth using another roster spot, that you could potentially have a guy who could play special teams at any point and rotate throughout the game. I feel like there's probably more value in having another defensive lineman in rotation.
Yeah, and then especially with the wide receiver injuries, like, I don't know, burning a roster spot on Ahlers doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But going back to kind of thinking, is there another backup QB you'd rather have? Like, how hard would it be to replace the type of play that you think you can get out of Drew Lock? About the only one that I could think of was Minshew. Like, he might be the only guy that you could argue for me as a backup QB that I may rather have than Drew Lock, but he's right up there at the top. When you hear Geno say, yeah, we've got 2 starters on this team, it kind of feels that way a little bit. And having that backup, just in case, the unlikely event that Geno is not who we saw last year, it'd be nice to have Drew as the break glass in case of emergency quarterback.
A third round pick would be tempting. A second round pick, I feel like you'd have to.
That's a slam dunk. Yeah.
But yeah, it's tough to give that up. The other question that Jeff had, and this was before Bobo made the 53, says, what if Bobo makes the 53? Not that he's the next coming of Doug Baldwin, but could Bobo have an impact like Doug Baldwin? Doug's 40 time was 4.48. I don't remember his speed jumping off the screen. Jake's a 4.99, but he seems quicker, at least at the sack level and route running. How much does route running make up for speed? And the other thing was that with Baldwin, his feet were amazing. Like that was how he was able to get as open as he was on a consistent basis. What would you put as a successful stat line for Bobo as a rookie?
Like bottom end success or top end success for him?
I don't think.
Or just like a good season.
Just to give you a couple brackets, I suppose, to measure success. Doug Baldwin, off the charts. He was 7. Well, I suppose you'd go to DK, but Doug Baldwin's rookie year, since that's who Jeff brought up, 788 yards, 51 receptions on 85 targets. That's pretty high.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to say if Bobo was like 25 to 30 receptions for, 200 to 300 yards, somewhere in there, that'd be a massive year for the rookie, considering who all he has in front of him on the depth chart.
DK, 58 receptions, 900 yards. If we're considering what would be a success, I think of a guy like Freddie Swain, who was a 6th round pick. And he came in and he played 16 games his rookie season, caught 13 passes, 159 yards. I'd like to see more than that, but that would be a successful stat line for a guy who is, hopefully you're seeing more from JSN. Hopefully you're seeing passes caught by Will Dissly, Noah Fant, Colby Parkinson. I think if he has 200 yards, we should look at that as being a successful first season for Bobo.
Yeah, that would be a great year for him. And we'll see how much playing time he gets. And it's a lot going to be predicated on just the health of everybody. And so far, especially DK and Tyler have proven that year in, year out, they're generally healthy. And that's been an awesome part of their game that you can hang your hat on.
Hugh comes in and says, howdy, compadres. Well done on the offseason content. It's been a blast. But now it's time for the real fun to begin. We might not have gone unbeaten in the preseason, but we did win more than we lost. In fact, we won twice as many games as we lost, which if we translate to the regular season, we go 12-5. Yes, I'm rounding up. Win the division, and then it's off to the playoffs. I was out delivering training this week, and in the room was a Winers fan in a Trey Lance jersey. I gave him a gentle little mocking. He took it less than well. At the break, though, a Packers fan came up to me and admitted he was scared of us and said he thought we were going to be sneaky good this year and people needed to watch out for us. I complimented him on his perceptiveness and intelligence, attributes the Winers fan clearly did not have. Here's hoping to us being more than sneaky good, but just downright awesome. Keep up the amazing work, and go Hawks, from Hugh.
Hey, go Hawks, Hugh. That's hilarious. He was wearing the Lance jersey, especially with the trade to the Cowboys here in the last week or two. There was some schadenfreude in that for me, just because of, where I came down on Trey Lance's drafting and all of that stuff. And being told up and down by, Winers fans, that the Trey area was going to be amazing and all that stuff. So, whatever, man. Goodbye to that dude. And Hugh, it sounds like you had a fun experience with a 49ers fan, which, doesn't happen every time. So congratulations to you.
Oh, especially over there in England. Hugh does finish with a PS saying, with the season starting, I can only apologize for the email Evie has drafted and is about to copy and paste after I send this one.
Well, you never have to apologize for anything that Evie sends us. It's always a delight. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. What do you say we go on and hear from Her Highness Evie, the Royal Arch Overlord of the Pick'em League?
Yes. Okay. What does Her Highness have for us this week?
Dear Brandon and the shouty one.
Yes.
My dad has told me the season is starting soon and played me your do better from the other week where a guy doesn't like bucket hats. I love bucket hats, and he clearly needs to do better.
See, I knew I'd agree with Evie. I mean, she's 100% right. Bucket hats are legit.
They are. With the season starting, I would like to retake up my role as Pick'em League Overlord. In fact, I demand it. The rules are as follows. Number 1, have an awesome team name. Try and make it Seahawks related if you can. 2, get your picks in each week. Unless your name is Adam, then give up after 4.
Yes. Yeah. Evie knows. Yep.
Number 3, there will be prizes for the top 5. Remember that. I'm trying. See, now it's in my notes this year. I did not remember that last year, but we did go to 6. So there we go.
Okay.
Number 4, there will be prizes for the weekly winners too. Number 5, you must never, ever pick against the Seahawks, no matter what. I will be watching.
Yes, absolutely.
Number 6, if I catch you picking against the Seahawks, the following penalties will apply. First offense, your pick will be changed to the Seahawks and your Hawkra will be diminished. Shame on you. Second offense, your pick will be changed to the Seahawks and you have to change your team name to either Sean McVay is my hero or I want to be a 49ers fan. Third offense. You really should know better by now. Your pick will be changed. You must post a picture in the Discord of you wearing a 49ers shirt, holding a sign saying, I have no Hawkra and deserve everyone to know. I look forward to keeping you updated. Go Hawks, Evie, the Pick'em League Overlord.
Evie is a fair and compassionate overlord, and I appreciate being under her rule because all of those rules were perfect rules for the Pick'em League. I especially enjoy the punishment section. Don't cross Evie, man, because you mess with the bull, you'll get the Rams jersey. Like that's what'll happen to you.
Yeah, we fell short in previous years because the first, second, and third offense were all the same, and that your pick was changed to the Seahawks and your Hawker was diminished.
That's right. Yeah. But under new leadership, we shall do better together.
I'm going to start by doing better by actually doing our randomization of our list of Pick'em League winners, Adam.
Okay.
Because it's time. I need to get around to sending out picks or prizes. I would have done it earlier. This is the excuse portion of the episode.
Yes.
I went back to the CBS Sports website just to see who won in each week so I could put it down in my list because I hadn't done that yet. This was a few weeks ago. Come to find out, I waited so long that they turned off the winners of each week from being displayed on the website.
Okay.
So I had to go back and listen to all of our episodes from last year to the Pick'em League section to where the winner was announced to rebuild this list.
I'd feel bad for you, but this does feel like a you problem. That you did it to
It
yourself.
was my fault.
Yeah.
I deserve it. And I accept but the problem is that it took extra time then. So I have our list, Adam, of winners for all the weeks. Now, the one part is I don't have the winners from the playoffs. So sorry.
Right.
And I'm doing this live, so you can hold me accountable.
Yep.
All right.
Yep,
So
I
we
see
got.
it. I see the struggle in real life. It's real.
Yep. Week 1 through week 18. I did send out prizes already to my favorite pancakes are Abe's because that was week 1 of last year. And I did that as it happened. And then I also sent Fernando Tejada's prize because he finished in the top 6.
Yes.
Now the first person will get to pick and we'll go down the list after this roll. Okay. Fernando finishes on top. So, hey, it worked out that I already sent Fernando his prize. This is not rigged at all. Week 17, going to have the first pick. Great Rolls of Fire. Danger Russo with the next pick. G. Haley with the fourth pick. That's actually the third pick. Toonhawk. Fantastic. Stalactites. The More Geno. Bayou Hawk. Rip Dazzled Adam. Hapuna Matata. Hard Telling Not Knowing, Uncle Will's Mustache, Hot Pocket Laka, The Sofa King, Van Isle Hawk Fan, Yaki Hawk. My favorite pancakes are Abe's. Then that one's good. Meet My Calf. Puna Melt. MK Decaf. Lock It Like It's Hot. Poo Poo Na Platter. And Jonathan Chivers. Oh, it even worked out because you just used your name. Although it worked out for Fernando. But the other person who just used their name finished on the bottom.
Yeah. Well, Jonathan, I know he will be in the Pick'em League again this year. He's with us every year. So tough break on your last place randomization pick here. It's totally legit. This isn't like picking out Pokemon cards on the internet at all.
No.
Yeah.
So there we go. I'll be reaching out to everyone, and I have the prizes still on the table behind me in the podcast studio, and now I'll be able to empty that table, hopefully, as we go.
Absolutely. Yeah. What could go wrong?
Oh, do we have one other thing that we want to announce before we get on to do better and better at life?
I don't know. Is there one other thing we want to announce?
I don't know. Thursday nights live? Are we doing this?
Oh, sure. Yeah, no, I'm in. And I'm thinking that, as many Sundays as I can do, I'd like to do lives on that as well. And Brandon, he takes that time to hang with the fam while they watch the game, and they've kind of got their own rituals. So he's going to be doing that. And so I'm thinking, I'm going to do the lives on the Sundays. We're going to do it together on Thursdays.
So what we're saying is live in-game hangouts.
Yeah.
For Thursday night football.
Mm-hmm.
And then Adam is going to be available live hanging out on YouTube during the actual Seahawks game.
Yeah. And so you can listen to me yell at the screen as I normally do. And that's when I'm really going to need your guys' help in the chat and that sort of thing. So, if you want to interact and do that sort of thing, we'll definitely be looking for your guys' input there. And yeah, I think that's going to be fun. Just another little thing that we're doing to try to level up the pod here for you little flockers. So I hope you appreciate it.
Every year as we go, try something a little bit different. And the thing is you will need to be subscribed on YouTube, because posting a 3-hour plus show through the podcast feed, not something we're going to be able to do, but we will be able to have those live and available out on YouTube.
Yep, absolutely. Easy enough to find us, Seahawks Podcast on YouTube.
Although here's what I was thinking, though, is that Thursday nights, since we're going to be sitting down live watching the game anyway, that might be when we do our picks.
Dude, yes. And then I won't forget, and it's all going to work.
Yeah.
Like, all I got to do is tell you the Thursday night pick before the game starts, and then we can go through the rest of them while the game's going on. This is perfect.
You could tell me what your Thursday night pick is right now.
Oh, yeah. Who we got?
I want to say Chiefs and Lions.
That feels right.
It feels good, right? I know it's the Chiefs. Okay, yes, confirmed. Chiefs Lions this Thursday, 6:20 p.m. Mountain Time.
In Detroit?
No, the Chiefs, they're the Super Bowl winners. They get to host.
Ooh. Chiefs Lions. That's actually a fun game.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Kind of the off-season darlings against the Super Bowl champs.
I'm going to go with the Lions. And the only reason I'm going to do that is some of the turnover at wide receiver for the Chiefs. And I know they all said that last year and it didn't seem to matter. And then Chris Jones being out and a little bit of a Super Bowl hangover. They've had so much success in big off seasons. You've seen Mahomes on quarterback and on every commercial that you could possibly see. And, Kelsey, what doesn't he do? I mean, he's out in front of every microphone and camera. A few little off-season distractions. I could see them having a little bit slower start. Going Lions.
And to stick it to your dad.
Always stick it to my dad. And plus, is there anybody in the league that has tastier kneecaps than Andy Reid? Like, Dan Campbell's going to want to eat those kneecaps.
I'm going to take the Chiefs.
Of course you are. Yeah.
I think they're better. On to do better and better at life.
All right, man. My do better this week is for PFF. Dude, I am officially sick and tired of PFF when it comes to their grades on offensive and defensive linemen. If those of you who don't know, they graded the Seahawks offensive line as 30th in the league this year.
Wow.
That's dog. That's a bad ranking. And that's just poorly done. I don't know how you could rank them 30th when they have bookend tackles that they say in their little explanation about it. They regressed substantially throughout the year. No, they didn't. They regressed a little bit in the last couple games when they hit the rookie wall and were tired. Like, I don't know, every rookie that starts every single game of a season. And then to go through and see, I don't know about their interior line. And they go, but Damian Lewis is their best player on the offensive line. Yeah, he plays on the freaking interior of the line. Like, Evan Brown is an upgrade from Austin Blythe. And, Phil Haynes is a lateral move. Fine. There's no way that this offense that played at a mid-tier level all year last year is 30th in the league in their ranking. There's no possible way. And I keep wondering, like, how do they get here? And I finally have figured, I listened to Michael Lombardi, who I don't take a lot of what he has to say a lot of times. But one of the things he was talking about with PFF, he's like, we always talked about doing grades on players and that sort of thing. You have to evaluate the evaluator. All right, so here's the grade, but who gave him that grade and why? Do you know what we know about the evaluators at PFF? Jack catfish, shit. Catfish. All right, because they hide behind the curtain and they don't show us the process. They just put out these numbers, call it the catfish Bible, and rank the Seahawks year after year at the dead bottom of the list. Some years they've deserved it. This year they definitely don't. So whoever that guy is behind the curtain at PFF, who clearly hates whatever we do on offensive line here in the PNW, do better.
Yeah. The thing is, you find me the guy that ranked the Los Angeles Rams 28th and then have that guy evaluate the Seahawks offensive line, because the guy who did the Rams offensive line knows what the hell he's doing. The one that did the Seahawks, not a clue.
Yeah, I don't understand it.
Because the Rams at 28th seems perfect.
Is it the same guy that evaluates all the lines, or are there 32 dudes that go out?
They're clearly different people. They have to be.
You think so?
Well, because one person is very smart ranking the Rams 28th and one is dumb ranking the Seahawks 30th. So they have to be two different people.
Or it's one person that just has a massive bias against the Seahawks. That's how it feels to me.
It could be.
Now, they also ranked the defensive line at 30th. Well, okay. I mean, based off of last year and all that, like, that's I can't even be that mad. That's fine. We'll see. I think they're going to be better than that by a good margin. But the offensive line one, that's just a bunch of garbage, dude.
It's down 3 from where they had them ranked, whatever the previous time was. The Rams are down. The 49ers dropped 11 spots down to 18. And who did they lose anybody other than their right tackle?
McGlinchey. That was the big loss.
That was the big one, but is he worth 11 spots?
I don't know. Did Trent Brown get old this year, finally?
Maybe. He's older.
Yeah.
And the 49ers were the highest ranked offensive line. The Cardinals were actually ranked lower than Seattle. So that makes sense too.
That does make sense. Just our ranking doesn't make sense.
No.
And
somebody else did it. He decided to go to lunch and he handed it off to an intern and said, fill in the Seahawks for my rankings. And obviously it was some 49ers fan that was hurt about seeing their numbers drop all the way to 18. And so they took it out on our Seahawks.
I've decided at this point, because I've been trying to give them the benefit of the doubt for many years here as you look at their offensive defensive line grades. Mm-hmm. And I think they just go off narratives. I don't think that they actually go off of, things on tape when it's all said and done. I just don't. And I'm done trusting them when it comes to offensive and defensive lineman grades. I think they're about as subjective and garbage as everybody else's, because good luck. It's hard. It's hard judging that play.
Well, it must just be delusional narrative week as part of our Do Better segment on the Seahawkers podcast, because my Do Better this week is for former Seahawks cornerback DJ Reed. His comments here this past week, he said, I think we, talking about the Jets, have the potential to be the best defense in the NFL. Honestly, I think we can be historical, not just the best defense in the league, but I think we can be a historical defense like the 85-86 Bears and the Legion of Boom in 2013. I think we can be that dominant if we just put all the things together. DJ, you were here in 2020 and 21. That's long enough to know. And you were on the kind of defense that you should have known how far off from a Legion of Boom team you were on those years. Now you're with the Jets, and just because they have a pretty good defense, good pass rush, nice cornerbacks, obviously, with you and Sauce, secondary, pretty solid. Yeah, you guys have the right statement, and where you should have stopped at is saying, I think we have the potential to be the best defense in the NFL. If you would have stopped there, you would not have ended up and do better. So go back to where you started, stick to talking about the best defense in the league, and get there before you start talking about being one of the greatest defenses ever, and do better.
Yeah, that's a bold statement there. But to be in that category of LOB 2000 Ravens, the Bears, they're in the 80s. I mean, it only happens once every 10, 12 years, man. Like, doesn't happen very often. So I'm with you, Brandon. You stick it right at, we have the potential to be the best defense in the NFL. Yeah. Okay. I can't argue with you. Yeah, I think you do.
And get there first. Because once you show that you're the best defense in the NFL, and then you can sustain that and win a championship during that sustaining period, then you can start talking about having the right to be talked about among those other defensive teams.
For sure. That was a little premature. Greatness coming from DJ's mouth there. So, and
if it were Sauce Gardner, I wouldn't have had as much of an issue with it either. It's the fact that he's a former Seahawk. He should know.
Oh, see, if it came with Sauce, I probably would have been a little bit more frustrated, only because why do I care about the guy who should have been runner-up in defensive rookie of the year's opinion? Like, that's the way that I would have looked at that.
And that I would have looked at it that way too. So it wouldn't have hit my radar.
I see.
I don't care about his opinion. I care about DJ Reed. He's a former Seahawk.
Yeah. And he played well when he was here. Yeah. I was kind of sad to see him go, but it all worked out in the end because now we've got Reek out there.
Well, my better at life this week, Adam, is for a rival general manager. There are not too many times when one of our rivals gets the better at life spot to kick off any season, let alone this season. But I could not be too much happier than I am with John Lynch for making that Trey Lance trade. The great thing about it, and sure, okay, they get a compensation probably more than they deserved in getting a 4th round pick back from the Dallas Cowboys. But it's not that. It's that he actually has some 49ers fans considering rooting for the Cowboys. The Cowboys, a historic rival of the San Francisco 49ers. And I've heard 49ers fans say, oh, I'm kind of rooting for Trey Lance now to have success with the Cowboys. John Lynch, do you even understand how rivalries work with your team? If a player has become that beloved within your organization and you get a 4th round pick and your fans are still cheering him on after he goes to a rival team, this is so good, because if fans are feeling that way, then there's probably players inside the locker room that are feeling that way. And if there's players inside the locker room that are questioning their coach and their general manager before the start of the season, that has me feeling better about my Seahawks. So for John Lynch making that trade, you are better at life than Skip Bayless.
So basically, by making a section of their fan base and possibly a player or two root for the Dallas Cowboys, he is better at life.
When Bobby Wagner went to the Rams, did any of us, any Seahawks fan, consider being a Rams fan?
Absolutely not.
No.
I specifically remember when him and Sherm played for some other team there for a minute.
Sherm played for the Bucks, which was weird.
All of the personal success in the world, but 0 team success ever.
Yeah.
And yeah,
we legally changed Bobby Wagner's name so he wouldn't have to consider the idea of him playing for another team.
Yeah, it was a different dude.
Totally different guy.
See, that's what you have to do as a real fan. You got to get absolutely delusional. It's good. That's how I do it.
Yeah. Maybe I'll get a Trey Lance Cowboys jersey. I'm Mr. Niner fan.
Okay, well then you can watch him fail there too. But whatever works. He's a nice kid. That's the thing. Is like I get rooting for the human. He's a very nice kid. Just he's just not a good quarterback.
And he hung around with Patrick Mahomes this offseason.
Yeah, I thought he was going to be great again.
Should have fixed everything.
Interesting. Well, there's one person that I know. Well, a couple people that I know that they don't have to be great again because they've been great since they started doing what we do here. And so my better at life this week, Brandon, is for you and Clinton and Wilson and Phil. You guys, man, this is for me and you. 10 years, buddy. Here we are. We're still doing this. We're ramping up. Things are getting, more consistent and with a lot more content. And I just think it's going such a cool direction. And then to have Clinton, Phil, and Wilson bring their energy and everything that they've been doing to the mix. Just all of you guys, like dragging my ass along and making this whole thing better. You guys are amazing. And I couldn't be more thankful for all of you guys, and you guys better at life than Skip Bayless.
Aw.
It's the start of the season, buddy.
It's the start of the season. Let's keep things moving. Let's keep the Love Fest moving by thanking our members of the flock who support us at 12 and above.
Keith Ketover, a.k.a. Flocktimus Prime, University of Cybertron, Little Flockers, Roll Out.
DCH from Sparks, Nevada, the University of Montana Grizzlies.
Eric Trench, rooting for the Seahawks out of Renton, Washington, graduated from Eastern Washington University.
Jameson Holman from Murray, Utah, representing Mississippi State University. Hail State and go Hawks.
Gary Blum from Chappaqua, New York, and the University of Pennsylvania, your 2016 Pick'em League champion.
Ron Pepper, UNLV Runnin' Rebels, San Francisco, California.
This is Hawk Van Dyke from the beautiful city of London and the capital of the UK.
Lisa in Seattle.
Samuel Gelber, NoHo, California.
David Van Cleve, Camas, Washington, home of the Papermakers.
Leo Jose, Luleå, Sweden, from Luleå Eskimos and Renkomaren Front.
Paul from San Diego.
Aaron Fisher, a.k.a. Lock It and Put It in Your Pocket, Las Vegas, Nevada.
Chris Boucher, a.k.a. the biggest little flocker, South Central Louisiana State University. Go Mud Dogs.
This is J.C. Schilling coming in all the way from Mockenbach, Germany with Hudson and Quinn saying,
Catfish!
And
go Hawks! Go Hawks! Go Hawks! Go Hawks!
Hey Seahawkers, my name is Garen Taylor. I live in one of the most beautiful places in the world, North Idaho. Hashtag on the roads. Go Hawks.
You heard from executive producers DCH and JC Schilling, and thanks to executive producer Becca Christensen. And a thanks to Christina in Manassas, Virginia, Craig in Camas, Sven in Berlin, Deutschland, Jeremy in the Bronx, Jake in Seattle, Tim in Austin, Jonathan in Ridgefield, Jay in Linwood, JC in Horsford, England, Brandon in Huntersville, North Carolina, James in Beaux Arts, Pepper in Greenville, South Carolina, Brian in Berlin, Connecticut, Glenn in Ocoee, Florida, Connie in Gothenburg, Sweden, Tracy in Kaneohe, Hawaii, Kevin in Surrey, BC, Marvin in Riverdale, Utah, Dean in the Greater Hawkdom, Jeffrey in Kansas City, John C. in the Greater Hawkdom, John W. in New York, Patrick in Sacramento, Bryson in Eltopia, Kevin in Great Glen, England, Jeremy in Federal Way, Josh in Candor, New York, Ken in Hutto, Texas, Mario in Seattle, Tim in Olympia, Cora in Ditters, Deutschland, Anders in Vila, Denmark, Jeff in Bainbridge Island, Warren in Dundee, Oregon, Chris in Austin, Amy in Squim, Richard in Killeen, Texas, Flopster in Round Rock, Texas, Joseph in Vancouver, Dan in the Greater Hawkdom, Corey in Ridgefield, Kyle in the Greater Hawkdom, Ryan in Salt Lake City, Joshua in the Greater Hawkdom, Rafe in Beaverton, Oregon, Norma in the Greater Hawkdom, Jamie in Oswestry, England, DJ in Menifee, California, Jason in Panama City, Florida, Eugene in Henderson, Nevada, Daniel in Post Falls, Idaho, Terrence in Dallas, Bridget in Redmond, Marlon in the Greater Hawkdom, Ryan in Crestview, Florida, Spooty Poo in Olympia, Dr. G in League City, Texas, BB in Oakland, Kayla in Vancouver, Tanner in Kalispell, Montana, Ryan in Fairbanks, Alexander in Oranienburg, Denmark, Sean in Cascade, Iowa via Kalispell, Montana, Jason in Portland, Gordon in Valdez, Alaska, Ovary Smasher 69 in Phoenix, Arizona, Daniel C. in the Greater Hawkdom, Jeff in Gilbert, Arizona, Daniel in Swindon, England, Oliver in Fort St. John, BC, Eric in Kalispell, Montana, Leland in South Jordan, Utah, B-Walls 22 in New York, Jay in Fairbanks, Russell in Harpenden, England, Sam in Alamonte Springs, Florida, Chris in Manchester, England, Logan in Evansville, Indiana, Nathan in Fife, Charles in Spokane, Adrian in Squim, Jonathan in Newmarket, England, Ranger Luke in Olathe, Kansas, Corey in Robertson, Australia, Mike in Kelowna, BC, Edward in the Greater Hawkdom, Freddie in Longview, Ken in Stanwood, Stu in Navarre, Florida, Kelsey in Olympia, Marty in Melbourne, Australia, Gareth in Chester, England, Chris in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and Randy in Silverton, Oregon. Yes, thank you to our 12ers and above, and our executive producers, our associate executive producers, everyone who's helped us out along the way. Man, oh man, I can't wait for this season to get going, Adam.
Heck yeah, it's exciting. I can't wait to see you guys Thursday night on the live stream, on Sunday on the live stream, and when we get to talk about the victory of the spanking of the Rams that we're about to give them. I can't wait for that moment as well. And I think with that,
there's only one thing left to say.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.